Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and this is the Shelf Respect tag. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. And I hope that you had a very happy Christmas for anybody who was celebrating. Yes, today I got a little tag video for today. This is the Shelf Respect tag. I was tagged by Pat over at Book Chat with Pat, so thank you very much for that tag, Pat. And this tag was originally created by Richard at richard.historylit. I will link obviously to Pat's and Richard's videos in the description as always. So let's dive straight into these prompts then. Prompt number 1, how do you organise your books on the shelves? Upstairs here, these two small shelves, this is the majority of my fiction, my to be read fiction, a few bits that I've already read. These are, by genre and then alphabetically by author surname within each genre. So I've got my science fiction on the top shelf, and then I've got some mixed stuff, so fantasy followed by crime and thriller, followed by some anthologies. And then I've got horror on this side. So they're all organised then alphabetically within their genres. Downstairs where we've got the big bookshelves, sort of a triple set of floor to ceiling height bookshelves, I've got like the books I want to keep that I've read, that are my favourites that I want to keep hold of. They are down there. They're not alphabetised, they're just as they will fit on the shelf. Then I've got my comics and graphic novels. I've got some random bits and pieces of kind of literary fiction, so I can't really fit it in a genre, so it goes downstairs. Then I've got my non-fiction, which is a very small section, and then I've got plays and poetry together. That is alphabetized, I believe. And then the bottom shelf is oversized books, some random stuff, reference books largely, things like that. Oh yeah, and I've got my oversized, like massive sort of art and design books up here on the bottom shelf. They are not alphabetized, they are organized in size order. So it's a bit of a mix of how I actually organize things, but largely, certainly when it comes to my fiction, I like to have them in genre and then alphabetized, because that's generally what I'm going to the shelf to find a particular book that I know I own, so it's easy for me to find stuff if it's in an order. Whereas non-fiction and stuff like that, really I don't mind. I'm more likely to browse that, so I don't need it to be in any particular order. So a mixture of how I organise things. Okay, prompt number 2 then is, have you ever merged your collection with your significant other? Hell no. We did at one point have a bit of a merge going on, but it doesn't work. We share the bookshelves downstairs, the triple set, but there is a holy line of demarcation between my stuff and my wife's. We generally read really different things anyway. When she does even read, she doesn't even read that much these days. She just doesn't have the eyes for it, the mental energy for it after a day at her job, which is pretty stressful. She's more on, if she's going to listen, if she's going to read something, she's going to have an audiobook on generally. But she doesn't organise her book collection, which drives me a little bit nuts. I moved things around a while ago downstairs, and I put all of her stuff kind of at least in fiction and non-fiction sections, and kind of said, okay, you organise it however you want to organise it. But she hasn't. It's just in fiction and non-fiction sections. So no, absolutely we're not merging. Okay, prompt number 3 then is, do you write your name and or the price paid in your books? Not these days anyway. When I was at university, I did, especially in like play texts, because they were usually full of notes. Um, Not necessarily like, I mean, my study texts were full of notes, but particularly the play text that I was using for production. If I was directing, stage managing, any kind of prop stuff, things like that, then I would write quite a lot of notes in my text. Um, and when there's, especially if it's a big cast production and we got a lot of crew as well, there's always a load of identical copies, what look like identical copies of the same script floating around the rehearsal room. You put them down, you go off for a break or you go off to do something, and it's really easy to get them mixed up. So I always put my name in those, quite clearly, to make sure that I didn't pick up somebody else's or somebody else didn't pick up mine. But generally these days, no, I wouldn't put my name in books, and I certainly would never write the price in. I don't really care that much about the price. Certainly the stuff that I buy, because it's often second hand. It might already have a price in it, which I always find amusing if it's a price from 40 years ago. But no, I would never bother writing the price in. Okay, prompt number 4. Do you keep all of the books you've read or only the most cherished? Just my favourite physical editions. Things that I will definitely want to reread or refer back to. I just don't have the space for more than that, really. Pretty much all the stuff that is on my shelves, certainly up here and downstairs, probably about 85% of it is unread because it's waiting to be read. And then favourites will get put on the top shelf downstairs if I want to keep them. Otherwise, they'll get passed on. I'll pass them on to friends or libraries, charity shops, things like that, so other people can get some joy from them. I may very well have loved them, but they haven't become a favourite. So, and if it's not something I think I'm going to reread, imminently or several times, then I'll pass it on and save some space. Okay, prompt number 5 is: does the style and quality of your bookshelves and or cases matter? Not massively, no. I mean, these two upstairs are mismatches. They're both just IKEA Billy bookcases. They're mismatched in colour because one's a lot older than the other one. But as long as they're sturdy, as long as they're perfectly sturdy, I don't really care that much. The downstairs shelves are higher quality shelves, although they're still just IKEA. They're just slightly upmarket IKEA ones. Because we said we'll have something a bit classier in the living room, the living room, dining room. Although I will say with those is they're white. Never again white bookshelves. They are a nightmare for showing up grime. And they're kind of that slightly chalky white sort of paint as well, so it kind of everything sticks to it. Yeah. No, never. Not at all practical, especially if you don't like dusting. So I wouldn't do those again. Absolutely not. I would say that if I had a lottery win and could buy a bigger house, I would go to town on designing a whole library room with custom built shelves and stuff like that, made by a proper carpenter and everything. But that's a dream. Okay, prompt number 6 is: do you have any gripes or complaints about bookcase construction? No, not really. I quite like putting together bookshelves. Yeah, I don't mind at all. It's nice because it's usually pretty straightforward, especially these days. I think probably when I was a kid and my parents were having to put together bookshelves, I remember some rather fraught DIY sessions from my dad, putting together sort of kids' furniture, but including bookshelves. But then I think any kind of DIY put together, flat pack furniture building is probably not really my dad's cup of tea, even if it's easy and straightforward, the air would still be blue. So yeah, no, I don't think there's. I quite enjoy bookcase construction. Okie dokes. Prompt number 7 then is: do you ever stack books horizontally? Yes. I have got to use the space available to me, and if that means stacking horizontally, then that's absolutely fine for me. As long as the things are relatively neat and I can find what I'm looking for, then I really don't care that much about how they are on the shelves. As I say, neat and efficient is the name of the game when you're limited with space. Okay, prompt number 8 is: what are your 5 favourite jackets or covers? It's hard for me to pinpoint 5 favourites, so I'm gonna go through like my 5 favourite sorts of cover design. I will give you one of my absolute favourites, and that is A Prayer for the Crown Shy. I love this cover, and I love the cut. In fact, it's the sort of cover design of the duology, really. A Salva of the Wild Built is also lovely. I really like these, but I think they really kind of speak to the kind of the mood, the atmosphere of the books, and they've got, you know, sort of little Sibling Dex's little tea cart there that they're driving around, and yeah, it's just a really nice. I really like that kind of illustration, and it's just draws you in. They're beautiful, those two. Then I've got. I really like the science fiction masterworks covers. So I've got a couple here. I've got The Demolished Man by Alfred Bester, and this one, Arachnophobe Warning, Look Away Now, The Shrinking Man by Richard Matheson. You can look again now if you looked away. I really like the science fiction masterworks stuff. And I generally love science fiction vintage covers, so I've got a couple of those. Got sort of vintage old school covers. So I've got Philip K. Dick, Lies Inc., Richard H. Francis, Blackpool Vanishes, which has got a great one going around the back as well. And then I love this, Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. I love that cover. So I like that kind of vintage cover as well. And same goes for sort of vintage horror covers. There's some great ones of these. So I love the cover of The Doll Who Ate His Mother by Ramsey Campbell. This is one of my favourites, Worm by Simon Ian Childer. That's a great fun book, that one. And then things like Bugs by Theodore Rotzak. So yeah, anything kind of vintagey, I really like. Then I love kind of sort of stuff that's got a real hand-done element to it. So like lino cut type style. So the Robert McFarlane, some of the Robert McFarlane titles have this. This one's Landmarks. And this one I really like, the illustration on it. The Salt Path by Raina Wynn. I really like that kind of colour illustration. And then this one, Ness, which features. I mean, the whole book features illustrations. This wonderful scratchy pencil kind of illustration, pencil and pen illustration by Stanley Donwood. But I really like that cover, especially with the little bit of foil text of the title, Ness. So yeah, really enjoy that kind of thing. But then I also like just plain graphic covers, really. I really like this series design of the Asimov stuff. I really like the restricted colour palette on it. Restricted colour palettes, I think, is good. These, I love this series of these editions of the Southern Reach trilogy, and then of course the new one is different. So, but the new cover designs are also gorgeous, so I might have to grab those as well. But yeah, those are great. And then even something like this, one of the Galant's 50s. It's very simple, but there's enough interest in it. That's the thing, is like I need some interest in it, and like the variation in font design, or font usage, and I like the bright yellow, a little bit of sort of border work, sort of flourish work, things like that. Yeah, I like those. They're instantly recognisable. So there you go. There's a few examples of my 5 favourite sorts of design. So number 9 then, prompt number 9 is, what are your 5 most disliked jackets or covers and why? Again, I don't think I've got much that I really dislike, because I tend not to buy it as a physical edition if I don't like the cover. I will seek out an alternative cover if I can possibly help it. And if I can't, I'll probably buy it as an ebook or an audiobook, so I don't have to look at the cover. Yeah, I don't want a cover that I don't like. I'll make sure I read the book, but as I say, it might just be that I'll get something in a different edition, a different format, if I don't want that particular cover on my shelves. So I'll go through some covers that I don't particularly like, cover designs, styles that I don't particularly like, or things about covers that I don't particularly like. Number 1 is the Fitzcarraldo editions, those very plain blue books with just the title on. That's where it trips from going just too far into the minimalist for me. I'm just not a fan of those at all. Okay, into some other stuff. Film tie-in versions, I really don't like those, and I will avoid buying them really at all costs. So I don't own any, but I'll pop up the one that I've got on ebook, which is The Martian by Andy Weir. So yeah, the film versions, not a fan of. Stickers that aren't stickers, we've been through this before. I've heard several other people complain about it, lots of other people about it. I don't think does anybody like it? Does anybody actually like those damn stickers? One of the books that I showed you has that. This one, it has 2, but this one here in the corner, it's not the worst, because at least it's down at the bottom, but I don't want that lovely cover design spoiling by your flipping non-sticker. Thank you very much. Yeah, those annoy the hell out of me. Yeah, the next one, covers that drastically change from hardback to paperback, especially when the change is really not good. The one that comes to mind for me on this is Monstrilio. I bought the hardback of Monstrilio. Cover is gorgeous. I love that cover design. I will pop up an image of it, so I don't still have the book. But the copy that I got had pages missing. There was a print issue with it, and so I couldn't read it. And I didn't want to order a new copy straight away in case there was a batch issue with it. So I left it, and I left it, and I left it. And I've still not got a copy to read. But then the paperback came out, and I was thinking, the paperback was announced. So I was thinking, oh, excellent! I can get a slightly cheaper version, and it should hopefully be sorted on the print quality, on the print issues. And then I saw the cover of it, and I'll put the cover up for that. So yeah, so I'm holding off until potentially I can source a second-hand copy of the hardback, because I really don't like that new cover. And then the 5th thing is just generally stuff where there's bad layout, hierarchy and in design. One of the things that really does get me is when the author name is like so much bigger than the book title. That really niggles me for some reason. It's like the one that I came across a while ago was Michael Crichton. Michael Crichton's Next. Yeah, things like that niggle me more than anything else. Okay then, and then prompt number 10 is there such a thing as too many books? Practically speaking, yes. That's why I pass on all but my favourite ones. I just do not have the space for that many books. And there's also the fact that realistically, I will never be able to read all the books that I want to read in my lifetime. So I do need to prioritise, and that includes prioritising what I have on my shelves. But in the grand scheme of things, there is always room for another book to exist in the world. So in that respect, no, there's never too many books. That's not a thing. But in terms of my practical ability to store them, yeah, unfortunately there is at the moment. Okay, so the last thing to do then is to tag some other folks, prompt 11. I will tag 3 folks in this. Hopefully you've not been tagged. I haven't seen you do the tag, but apologies if you already have. Those 3 people are then Josh at Already Overbooked, Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems, and Jack at Spread Book Joy. So if any of you fancy a go at this one, then please do hop on board. Apologies if you can hear the rain that's absolutely battering down right now, but that's probably a good sign for me to stop rambling. So thank you very much for watching today, folks. Do drop your thoughts in the comments below. It's always lovely to hear from you. I will be back on Sunday with a little look back at 2024 and a little look ahead at 2025 and what might be happening on the channel and all that good stuff. So I do hope you'll join me for that then. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.